2011 Wangaratta, Australia. A man who found infinite money glitch. This is the story of Dan Saunders. In 2011, an ordinary Australian man stumbled upon one of the strangest financial loopholes in modern history. His name was Dan Saunders, a bartender from Wangaratta, Victoria, a quiet town surrounded by farmland where life moved slowly and nothing remarkable ever happened. Yet for Dan, everything was about to change. Over the next 4 months, he would experience events that transformed him from an everyday bartender into a man who, for a fleeting period, seemed to have access to limitless wealth. This is the true story of Dan Saunders, the man who found a glitch in the system and what happened when he tried to live as if the rules no longer applied. Dan's life before the glitch was ordinary. He spent his days serving drinks, chatting with regulars, barely scraping by on modest wages. Nights were filled with simple pleasures, casual drinks with friends, watching football, enjoying the quiet rhythms of a town frozen in time. Dan had dreams, but nothing extraordinary, until that one late night changed everything. It all began on a night like any other. Dan had been out with friends, laughter echoing through the streets. The air was crisp, the dim glow of streetlights casting long shadows. Feeling the need for cash, he approached the local ATM. Its familiar screen flickered faintly, and then he noticed something unusual. When Dan attempted to transfer money between accounts, the system did not immediately check his available balance. Instead, it allowed him to create funds that technically didn't exist. Numbers on a screen, intangible, yet seemingly real. Money not backed by actual deposits, but available for withdrawal. At first, it seemed like a simple technical error, something the bank would quickly correct. But when Dan repeated the process, the money remained. Each time he moved funds, the balance grew. He had discovered a glitch in the banking system. Dan was cautious. At first, he questioned himself. Was it real? Could he spend this money without consequence? To test it, he started small, a few $100s. He withdrew it, and the ATM gave him cash. No alarms, no warnings, nothing. For most people, that would have been enough. But for Dan Saunders, it was only the beginning. Over the following nights, he tested the glitch further, moving money back and forth, withdrawing it, watching his account grow with each transaction. The thrill was intoxicating. The realization that he could manipulate the system and temporarily control vast sums sent a rush of excitement through him. Soon, small sums turned into large withdrawals. $500, $1,000, even more. Dan realized he could transfer massive sums at night when the system was offline and spend it freely during the day before the bank corrected the balance. For 4 months, this glitch transformed his life. The bartender who struggled to make ends meet was now living like a millionaire. Dan's life changed dramatically. By day, he remained the same man behind the bar, serving drinks, chatting with patrons, blending into Wangaratta's quiet rhythm. But by night, he became someone else entirely. He booked private jets, stayed in luxury hotels, dined at the finest restaurants, traveled with friends, living a life of indulgence most people only dreamed of. He threw extravagant parties, purchased the finest champagne, even hired a private helicopter just to impress his friends. Over time, he spent around 1.6 million Australian dollars. Money that technically was not his, but accessible due to a flaw in the banking system. Yet despite the excitement and luxury, A shadow of fear began to creep in. Deep down, Dan knew the glitch could not last forever. Every phone call, a jolt of anxiety. Every letter from the bank, a warning. Every casual conversation filled him with fear of exposure. Paranoia took root, gnawing at his conscience. Yet the thrill of living above ordinary life was irresistible. He continued returning to the ATM, night after night, testing limits, chasing the rush, unable to stop. During these months, Dan experienced the dizzying highs of wealth. Private dinners, luxurious hotel suites, spontaneous trips created a life that felt surreal. Friends marveled at his sudden fortune, unaware of the method behind it. Dan's story became a whispered fascination, a tale of impossible luck and daring, and growing tension. Eventually, the inevitable happened. The bank traced the missing funds. Authorities intervened. Dan's secret life collapsed. He was charged with obtaining property by deception and sentenced to 1 year in prison, serving 5 months behind bars. Despite the thrill, the money never brought true happiness. The life he built with the glitch was fleeting, ephemeral, a dream that could not last. The excitement, the lavish spending, it all vanished, leaving only lessons about temptation, desire, and the consequences of bending rules. The story of Dan Saunders is remembered not as a tale of wealth, but as a cautionary lesson, a warning about greed, curiosity, and the fragility of financial systems. A late-night ATM trip in a quiet Australian town became one of the most bizarre financial glitches ever recorded. And while the loophole is long closed, the legend of the so-called money glitch millionaire continues to captivate imaginations around the world. This is the story of Dan Saunders, the bartender who discovered a loophole, lived like a millionaire for a fleeting time, and ultimately paid the price for touching the money tree. His tale remains a striking example of how curiosity, opportunity, and human temptation can collide in ways that are thrilling, yet cautionary.